What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Dragonflight video. I hope you're all doing very well. We're back on the PTR. We're going to look at two big things going on today. A bunch of new updates to the Ret Paladin tree. I will get to that in a minute. There's a bunch of hunter changes that are coming as well in relation in particular to the hunter bow. So let's actually jump on that first. I'll bring this over here. So if you guys haven't seen... I'll move this over. I'll move over here just for a second. If you haven't seen, the changes are coming to this Neltharax bow, which is obviously the bow that drops from, I believe, Razageth, the very final boss in the raid right now. It's getting tuned. We're going to read this right here. Neltharax, enemy of the sky, is going to be changed in 10.07. The bow has a bonus effect that was intended to be a boost to the hunter's auto shot damage when shooting a single target, and we still want to keep it that way. The special effect on the bow was not intended to also increase the melee auto attack speed of any summoned pets. The power gain from this special equip effect, in addition to its rarity, has made it a pretty big divide between hunters who have this bow and hunters who don't. So that's the big change that they're making. It essentially boils down to them tuning all the hunters, and I think they're actually just using this as an excuse to get some additional tuning in, which is super cool. I'm actually fine with that. And here's what it looks like. So all specs get Serpent Sting damage up by 25%, which is great. And then Death Chakram damage is doubling. So, I actually haven't been taking Death Chakram in any of my builds in the most recent Survival Hunter stuff I've been doing. But I might actually have to take it now, because it might do respectable damage. Right now, it only ever does like 1.5% of your damage. But if it ended up doing like 3 to 3.5% of your damage, it's actually definitely worth taking them, because it also obviously amps the rest of your attacks by 10%. So that's actually a great change. BM Hunter, of course, is seeing the biggest bonus. Well, not all, but kill command and stomp damage going up, because you're going to be losing that damage from the bow here. This to me actually just feels like a straight up buff, like in a big way. I mean, barb shot damage going up by 25% is actually really big. That's a big change. And the rest of it obviously going up. 25% is a massive bonus. So we'll see. I feel like BM Hunter, I don't think BM Hunter's in that bad of a place. So I'm surprised that they're buffing things by this much. And then Marksman Hunter, Arcana Knight, and Chimera Shot are going up. Multi-Shot's going up. So these are subject to change, obviously. Hope you have a nice weekend. So it's good. I think that it makes sense. They didn't mean for this to be too big of a bonus for the pets and stuff in particular. I think that's what was bugging out a lot of the hunters, making a big division there. But I'm excited actually for the Serpent Sting change and the Death Chakram change. I feel like that's going to be a really big deal for Survival Hunter, which is what I'm playing, right? So yeah, that'll be good. Okay, so let's move on to the Paladin stuff. The Ret Paladin stuff has been changed once again, and I'm going to start out by... There's a lot of stuff to get to here, so let's just jump right in. I want to talk about, first of all, the structure of the tree that's here. So I'm gonna move this picture over here. This is the old talent tree. Let me make sure I can make it bigger. As big as we can make it here. There we go. Okay. So there it is there. You can see the old Ret Paladin tree here. This is the current build right here, okay, in the game. So you can see just right away the structure has changed, and there's some really notable changes in terms of structure in particular. So let me first start out by just saying this access to the left side is now way better than it used to be. So in the old build, you had to go over here and grab either Light's Justice or Swift Justice over here. Okay, that's the same. But then you had to also grab Justicar's Vengeance or Final Verdict, which is right here. You don't have to do that anymore on the new version. So you can actually just go through Tempest of the Lightbringer and then come down and get your Judgment Charges or your Judgment Holy Power buff, okay? And that's going to get you access to the left side. And you can skip out on what they've done is they've actually moved some of the single target stuff. So Vanguard's momentum has been moved up. You can see over here, it used to be down below at the very bottom. And Jurisdiction got moved up a little bit as well, which is really cool. But you don't even have to take that stuff anymore. You don't have to take any of it. If you're just doing Mythic Plus and focusing on AoE, you can go through Tempest of the Lightbringer and have access to all the left side bottom stuff, which is very important. That's a massive structural change, in my opinion, that gives the AoE build, which mostly goes over here and then down the middle. You get your AoE stuff over here. Obviously, Tempest of the Lightbringer also used to be in the middle here, and it's not anymore as well. It's on the left side. So in the middle now, they've moved Crusading Strikes over here into the middle with Blessed Hammer, and they've nerfed Crusading Strikes a little bit. I'll get to that in a minute. Don't worry about it for now. I'll get to it in a minute. But a couple more structural things. They've added Divine Wrath right here in the middle to the spec side. This is essentially Zealot's Paragon from the class tree has essentially been turned into Divine Wrath. I will talk about that in a minute. I think I have that in my notes somewhere else. Actually, maybe I just talk about it now. Yeah, let's just talk about it now. So this is really interesting to me. On the spec side, they've actually removed Zealot's Paragon. So it's now called... Sorry, guys, I'll move this over here. It's now called Vengeful Wrath, and it says Hammer of Wrath always critically strikes. That's what it got changed to. It used to be Zealot's Paragon, which was Judgment and Hammer of Wrath would extend your wings. So we don't have that anymore as a Ret Paladin. So you might think, well, Zuko, that's not very good. We wanted to extend our wings. Fair enough, except that what they've done here is they've given you Divine Wrath. If you want 3 extra seconds on wings, you can get it. And that's, on average, what you might end up getting from Zealot's Paragon anyway. Like, realistically speaking, the extension that you would get on wings from Zealot's Paragon would be somewhere between 3 to 5, maybe 6 seconds at the most. So they're basically saying to you, you don't have that anymore, but instead you can just get 3 extra seconds on your wings if you want it. If you don't want it, that's okay, because guess what? Wings is just insane now anyway. You can either have a 1-minute wings that lasts for 20 seconds, or you can have a 2-minute wings, which goes for 35 seconds. So you don't even really need to extend wings that much anyway. It's not that big of a deal anymore, because the Avenging Wrath that only lasts for 20 seconds is now a 1-minute cooldown. You're casting it twice as often as you used to if you didn't take Crusade. Obviously, you probably took Crusade, but my point here is simply to say, like, yes, this only lasts for 20 seconds, but it's a 1-minute cooldown, so you can cast it twice as often. Or you can go for the big Crusade, which is great, and it lasts for 35 seconds now. Or you can make it actually last up to 38 seconds with Divine Wrath. So they're basically saying, Blizzard's saying, we're not doing the extension anymore, but we're just going to make Avenging Wrath like much better. You either get a big 35-second window or a much more frequent 20-second window, and then you can obviously buff them and kind of get the pseudo Zealot's Paragon effect from Divine Wrath. Does that make sense? So I think that either way, it's a buff. It's just, it's actually fine. It's fine that we lost Zealot's Paragon. It's not a big deal at all. Okay? Vanguard's momentum got moved up, as I said. And Judgment of Justice got moved up here. This is going to be the beginning of the utility stuff I want to talk about. So Judgment now deals more damage, but it gives you 10% movement speed. This used to be on the left side of the tree. It's moved into the middle now. This is really cool, and I want to make a really quick pit stop here for the changes that have come in that are not going to be on the class side of the tree. Let me move this out of the way for a second. Let's look at this. So, this down here. Okay, so this is really cool. Here's the class tree now. They've moved Healing Hands over here, so your Lay on Hands buff is here if you want it, if you really think you need it. And Unbound Freedom is over here now, which is super cool. Okay, it used to be in here, in the middle section. We used to have to, like, choose between Light Serenity and Guided Power, and then obviously Unbound Freedom and Lay on Hands. So now they've just given them to you on the class side, which is nuts, by the way. And you get the 10% movement speed from Judgment of Justice. So now you can press Freedom, and you're boogieing at 30%, and you can give Freedom to somebody else, and you're going at 30% quicker. And every time you cast Judgment on an enemy, you're also moving quicker. I'm not going to throw it here because I don't want to get in combat, but you now get 10% from here and 30% from here, which is massive. Plus, you get Divine Steed, two Divine Steeds, right? So I think your movement speed stuff is completely fine now. And I know people were like yelling about this in the last video, but I think it's completely fine now. It's really good to have this over here. Now, your only choice in terms of like utility here is going to be between Light Serenity, which is the instant flash of light, which is completely busted in my opinion, or the cheat death with Guided Prayer. But I really do think every 6 seconds having like a 32k heal is completely broken. And now you have this movement speed buff as well. Like, I feel like This movement speed buff right here with Blessing of Freedom is so good. It's so good. Like, oh my god, it's so good. So, anyway, those are some really huge changes. Lay on Hands is over here. Unbound Freedom is here. Light Serenity and Guided Prayer are still over here, but they're not as intrusive anymore. You can go get your DPS stuff and not worry about having to pick your utility. Now, here's a really cool change. More quality of life. Crusader's Reprieve got buffed. It now says your Crusader Strike, Rebuke, and auto attack range is buffed by 3 yards, and Crusader Strike heals you for 2%. It used to just be that Crusader Strike heals you, right? So now you're getting 6%. I'm pretty sure it didn't have the range before. Maybe it did. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong here. But the point is, you can now take Crusader Aura, which also gives you 3 yards on Crusader Strike. You can take Crusading Strikes, which makes your auto attacks just be Crusader Strike now. And guess what? You have 6 yards of range when you're wearing the Crusader Aura. Let me put this over here. Crusader Aura is on. So now I have 3 yards on Crusader Strike, and I've got this, which gives me 3 yards. So watch this. I can now, I'll throw a Judgment, and then look at my attacks here. I'm attacking from here. That's insane. That's 6 yards, and I can move around. So you can now hit enemies from 6 yards away. Which basically means, like, the quality of life on this is huge, because it basically means if there's mechanics that are melee range that you need to step out of, it's okay. You can still hit them with your Crusading Strikes. And of course, you can always hit them with Judgment. You can always hit them with Blade of Wrath, which has a Blade of Justice, sorry, which has a long range as well. There's a lot of other abilities you can throw, but just having this auto attack range extended is amazing. And Rebuke now is an 11-yard range. If I took it right, did I not take the? It should be showing up there. 3. I don't know why it says. Oh, I don't have the aura on. There we go. It's on now. So Rebuke now has a 12-yard range. 12 yards on Rebuke. That's insane. Like, you can just hit stuff from so far away. Let's get close again, see if we can get this. Right, there we go. So there's my auto attack range, and my Rebuke now is, of course, 12 yards. So you do have a range kick now. Like, this is like 12 yards right here. You can actually kick anything now from 12 yards away. So those 2 changes are really, really cool, in my opinion, and are some massive quality of life changes for just the range on Ret Paladin. Meaning you don't have to be standing right under the boss's butt to be doing damage. You can now get a big amount of range from these 2 abilities. So I thought that was super, super cool. Okay? The other major class change, obviously, that came forth was Vengeful Wrath. Hammer of Wrath always crits. That's interesting, right? Does that matter anymore? Well, when you combo it with Adjudication, which also got changed, it says your critical strike chance is up by 2%. Hammer of Wrath critical strikes now cause a Blessed Hammer to spiral out around you, dealing Holy Strike damage. So that's interesting. I've tested this a couple times. It doesn't seem to do that much damage, but I did the single target build, and it did add a little bit of extra damage to my single target build, which was kind of cool. Let me just move over to it here on the dummies. I think it was here. Where is it? This one. So you can see Blessed Hammers here, 2% of my damage, just because my Hammer of Wraths kept critting. They were guaranteed to crit with my single target build, and then you're getting the Blessed Hammers that spiral out. So it's kind of whatever. I don't know that it's that big of a deal. But this is the combo that you'd want to do, is you'd want to do Vengeful Wrath. Honestly, this might just be good for Hammer of Wrath. Making it always crit really buffs the damage of it. Look, I had 11 crits, right? So 55k, that's pretty cool. That might be worth taking it all just right there, especially in a single target build. I don't know about AoE. You might want to go and get something else now, but that's pretty good, just getting the guaranteed crit, besides also having Adjudication. Kind of interesting there. Couple of other changes here. Divine Hammer replaces Consecration. This is kind of interesting to me, because this actually also counts as a periodic effect, which is very interesting. If you take Penitence now, this buffs the damage of your periodic effects by 15%. That applies to Divine Hammer because it replaces Consecration, and it does damage over 12 seconds. So it actually does a lot more damage than Consecration. Normal Consecration right now for me does, I have it talented. Normal Consecration does about 8.5k, and if I take Penitence, this thing now does about 11.5k. So Even with Penitence, Consecration only does 8.5k. So Divine Hammers also gives you 1 holy power. It doesn't continuously generate 1 holy power. It's just 1 holy power once every 20 seconds. So take that with a, you know, as you may. I'm not sure how good that actually is, but it does more damage than Consecration does. That's for sure. It might be worth it just to go Consecrated Blade, sorry, or not take either of them. You might just not want to take either of them. I don't really know, to be honest. But one really cool thing about Penitence that I didn't understand is that it will buff Consecration and Divine Hammers. It buffs Expurgation, right, which is really cool. I think we knew that. It buffs Truth's Wake, right, which, because it's all damage over time. It's all periodic damage. It also buffs Execution Sentence, which I didn't understand. Execution Sentence says a hammer slowly falls from the sky upon the target after 12 seconds. They suffer damage. So it actually buffs the upfront damage of Execution Sentence. So right now it does 27.5k. If I turn, if I get rid of Penitence, we'll change it. Execution Sentence will go from 27.5k down to like 24k, I think. Yeah, it does 23.9. That's 24k. So you can see that if you... Penitence actually has a little bit more application than I realized at first. So Expurgation dot, Truth's Wake dot, Consecration or Divine Hammers, and then Execution Sentence also now has an AoE damage over time component. Sorry. So interesting. It might make it worth taking Penitence, sorry, to get the periodic damage. You can also buff your fire damage down here. So maybe that's worth it. I don't know. That's going to be for the people to really go figure out, all the smart people. Let's keep going here. There, Crusader Reprieve, Adjudication, good. There's a new single target talent called Vanguard of Justice. This is interesting. Your single target holy power abilities cost 1 or 2 additional holy power and deal 20 or 40% more damage. Let's switch to our single target build. I'll show you really quickly. It makes the single target rotation kind of strange and very precise. So again, our single target damage now is up by 40%. Our single target spender is up by 40%. So my Templar's final verdict, sorry, up by 40%, but it costs 5 holy power now. So now, basically, anything that you can take that gives you holy power is really a welcome change, right? So Crusading Strikes gives you holy power. You can make Execution Sentence give you 3 holy power. That's really important. I don't think there's anything else here that really buffs. You can make Judgment give you more holy power, but you can also have 2 charges of Judgment. I'm going to go with Boundless Judgment. Let's try that out instead and see if that's a better change. I also have the Hammer of Wrath spirals out. So here we go. Let's try this. I'm going to show you how interesting this can be. So you have to be very careful about your holy power generation because you basically need to get to 5 holy power, right? And you want to make sure that you're not overcapping ever. If you ever overcap, you're making a big mistake because you have to be so precise now on your holy power generation. Truth's Wake. There we go. Up to 5. I'm going to spend this. I'm going to get up to 5 here. There we go. Okay. Hammer of Wrath. I got a free one there. Divine Toll, spend it. So it actually feels kind of smooth, not going to lie. It's not bad at all. I think once you start getting out of the Crusade window, it gets a little bit clunkier. That's for sure. There, I'm out of the Crusade window now. Let's see how clunky this feels. It's a little bit slower. We got a Divine Purpose proc. That's the one thing about this. If you get a Divine Purpose proc, it's amazing. It's amazing to get a Divine Purpose proc. I got to use my Truth's Wake here. Or Wake of Ashes, sorry. So it actually feels okay. I have to wait till I get all the way up to 5 holy power, but it still feels good. Yet you kind of are a little bit reliant on procs. I'm waiting for Crusader Strike to go through. There we go. I got one. So this is, you can get into a bit of a lull here. I don't think I like this, but it might be good. I don't know, guys. Somebody will have to mess around with this more than me, but it might actually be good. What you can see here is the damage of Templar's verdict, certainly, or final verdict, sorry, is certainly really high. Is it worth it? I don't know. Probably not. Anyway. That is that. That's the new single target sort of big talent that you can take if you want to. It might be worth it. It might not. Again, I'm not entirely sure. And maybe there's a better way to set up your tree to accommodate this new thing, but it's a pretty massive change. Okay? Couple of nerfs here. All the AoE stuff got nerfed a little bit, and Crusading Strikes got nerfed. So Crusading Strike used to say your Crusader Strike replaces your auto attacks, and your auto attacks will now generate holy power. So that meant that if you buffed your attack speed a lot, then you'd be Crusader striking more often, generating more holy power more often. We were generating way too much holy power. It was just way too much. So essentially they nerfed it and said you only generate 1 holy power every 2 attacks. Okay, so now you have to wait a little bit to get the holy power generation. It means that you're buffing your attack speed is still actually good. It's still good to get as much attack speed bonus as you can. So something like Zealot's Fervor, Wind Fury Totem would still be really, really good for this, but you're just not getting as much holy power as often. The AoE Crusader Strike damage got nerfed. Just the AoE targets, you only deal 50%, and the Judgment stuff got nerfed. You only deal 50% damage to those targets as well. So a little bit of nerfs there, but not a big deal, to be honest. Those are all the changes. A lot of changes. The structure is different. There's crazy range upgrades over here from Crusader's Reprieve. There's all your utility got shifted to the class tree, essentially, except for one node here now. Obviously, you still have to take Shield of Vengeance and stuff, but that was standard anyway. Avenging Wrath is going to be basically amazing now, even without Zealot's Paragon. You can take Divine Wrath if you want to buff that. There's some additional buffs to Penitence I didn't understand before. There's a new single target kind of big bonus here in Vanguard of Justice. And they moved a bunch of talents around, like Vanguard's Momentum is up here. You don't have to go through Templar's Verdict or Justicar's Vengeance anymore to get access to the left side of the tree. You can go through Tempest of the Lightbringer or Inquisitor's Eye, which is very cool. Those are all the massive changes that have kind of happened. There's still some not yet implemented stuff like Physical Presence. Increases your physical damage by 20% and a secondary effect, not yet implemented. This haste bonus here, haste plus 2% and a secondary effect, not yet implemented. So there's going to be some more changes still coming down the pipe, but this is looking really good, especially the fact that they moved the utility off to the class tree, and you can now get the 30% movement speed over here. I think that's one of the biggest changes for sure. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think about Ret Paladin and the upcoming Hunter changes? Do you think that BM Hunter is going to be really strong now? Because those buffs look really crazy to me. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one.